a conspiracy theorist. I look around and just can't understand. Here is something perfectly clear that is an answer you cannot defend. Yeah, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I couldn't be nearest to the truth. Hey, hey, we all are conspiracy theorists. Hey guys, how about you? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hello, everybody. I am back. I'm sorry for not being there for 2 weeks. I do 6 shows a week with Coolest Alive, and I wasn't feeling it. It's Jesse Blaze Snyder, and you're listening to Everything They Don't Want You to Know. And I had some friends who I was going to have come on my show with me like 2 weeks ago when I didn't do the show. And ultimately it was because I found out that this person maybe didn't exactly have my best interests at heart. And it was a little bit of a quagmire situation, and I won't get into it, but kind of felt a little betrayed. And all of a sudden, the show that I wanted to do, which I think I will come back around and do in the near future, I just didn't feel up to doing, man. But whatever. If you're not listening to my 6-day-a-week Coolest Alive entertainment podcast, you really should. It's fucking awesome. I mean, who doesn't read books or comic books or watch movies or watch TV or listen to music? Everybody does. And every Monday, I recommend a new great album, all different genres. Every Tuesday, I recommend a great piece of animation. Every Wednesday, it's a great comic book, really great stuff that people have never read comic books before. You'll love this stuff. Mostly, there's a couple things that I've brought in that were just recently cool and might be more niche, but you'll see from some of the title recommendations, but there's some great shit. I really, my biggest thing is I really want to try to get more people into comic books and the greatness of some of the stuff that's been released over the years that is worth your time. And then every Thursday I do a live action film, and Friday I do Wildcard Friday, which means all sorts of stuff. I do live events, I do comedians, lots of comedians. I've probably done as many comedians as I've done books, and as many books as I've done games. But just all the stuff that entertains me, all the stuff that's good in life. Conan, what is good in life? What is good in life is the things that Jesse Blaze Snyder talks about 5 days a week on Coolest Alive. And then Saturday is the Mother Show, where it's like an hour-long show. Often I'm just celebrating something that I needed more time to talk about. Like this weekend I did The Shield. Love The Shield with Michael Chiklis. It's one of Walton Goggins' first gigs, and he's great in it. The whole show is really awesome. So if you like entertainment, as most people do, you should really be listening to Coolest Alive. It's a excellent program. It's an excellent program that I put together, if I do say so myself. Also, monthly now, I've brought back All Your Favorite Bands Suck, which is my deep dive into all my favorite bands. I've done 55 episodes so far, and 55 of my favorite bands, man. The last one I did was Godson. I'm on a monthly schedule. Godson was the first one that I did, and he's one of my favorite modern artists, or I should say my absolute favorite modern artist. Grandson, not Godson. I always get his name wrong. But he's so awesome. Listen to his music a lot. I really, really like him. If you need to email me for any reason, you can reach out to me at jbs@blacklightdistrict.studio, and blacklightdistrict.studio is, of course, my... God, it's cold in here if you hear me shaking. Blacklightdistrict.studio is my company. We make boutique music and comic books. All of our stuff is available for free at our website, and it's fucking awesome. You should go check it out. The website's really going to become a great hub, a place for people to do things. I don't really believe in putting digital things behind a paywall, because I believe that people, they end up getting it for free at other places. So I'd rather just give it to you for free at my place, where like I can have some amount of control over the thing, and I can say, hey, look, here's another thing that we're doing, and offer things and offer you to buy it in legitimate ways. Like, oh, we did a really cool release. You want to buy it? Hey, we did a really cool physical pressing of this comic. You should get a physical copy if you like it. That kind of thing. I'd rather, I'm cool with more people knowing our stuff because it's available for free to listen and read than some people just not having access to it because, well, I didn't want to reach it. I'd rather people get in there, and if they feel generous, buy things and do stuff. Anyway, my company's, being built the right way to do the right things. This entertainment world is ridiculous the way it's run. And I've seen that for so long. And comic books are relatively inexpensive, and music, it tends to be a fucking bit of a bitch, but is worth it when it can be done right. And when these things can be done right and amicably with the artists and the creators involved, it's just good for everybody, and it makes the art better. And there's so many wonderful things, and we just need some thought leaders to do it the right way in the world, and it changes the whole industry. So I'm out here trying to do that. And if you want to see entertainment change, please do support us at blacklightdistrict.studio. I really think you'll love the material that we have there. King of Kings and Fucking for Our Future are fucking hysterical. And if you like fantasy, the Mythic Legions comic is awesome. And if you like really grotesque horror stuff, the Strangeland comic, there's like 2 issues of that, which are really, really gnarly. The second issue had never come out, and we're actually talking about doing a Kickstarter for the full series because it's drawn. It just needs to be colored and a couple other things. So it's probably going to be the next thing on our list for Blacklight District Studio. But anyway, great music, great comics. You should check it out. And not all just by me, but the people that I work with are just insane. That's part of the whole thing, is like there's so many people that I know who are just kicked around kids just like I am in the industry, when you're not, there's these certain personality types that are able to get through. And if you're not like really gregarious in the right way for the system doesn't support you. And there's so many wonderful people, kind and creative people who deserve more support. And if the system was built properly, it would be, focusing on those people and getting them the support they need so they can make great work. But it doesn't work that way. And but with our help, it will. And with your help, it will. So anyway, let's get into today, because around the same time with this I had felt a little betrayed spiritually, and like this show, I really try to come on here and just like speak from the heart, and because it's like so fucking speculative conspiracy stuff. It's just like I don't want you guys ever feel like Jesse lied to me. like these are the conversations. This is what's going on. Here's my perspective on it. But it's all very relative. And so I was just, my energy was all weird, and I was introduced more deeply to concepts in agnostic belief systems that, like, I knew about these things, and I had listened to these things very long ago when I first started down my road of like spiritual awakening and enlightenment. But I've gone through a lot since last seeing the stories of the Gnostic in the Gnostic texts, and I'm gonna talk about exactly what those things are in a second. But I'm going to maybe start out by saying it a lot more dramatically, because I just want you to understand what this means and what I've come to understand. And I say understand because I've meditated with it now for like 2 weeks, and they keep coming back and telling me yes, essentially yes. This is true, even though there's so many interesting details, and I'm kind of going to be not speculating, but like saying what my intuition has sort of already pulled out of me. Generally speaking, when my intuition does this, I'm right. And does this is, it sort of builds something in the background of my brain based on things I know. But like, I'm not doing it. You know what I'm saying? I didn't sit there and go, let me mechanically figure this out. you know. I just sort of like went, oh my goodness, like what does that mean? And like, just kind of sat for a moment, and inspiration number one, of like this other thing that parallels with that. And before I knew it, sort of a pathway to that thing, and then how that thing connects with this thing and this other thing. And so I'll start this by saying that there's a wonderful comic book. It's one of the greatest comic books ever written, written by Alan Moore, and it is called Superman. It was like a Superman special or annual, or I'm not exactly sure where it was originally published, but you can get it in the Alan Moore DC Works like collections, because he didn't really do that much. So there's some decent Alan Moore collections, and that story is always included. So is for the man who had everything, and basically it was Superman's birthday, and Batman and Robin and Wonder Woman show up to the Fortress of Solitude with presents for Superman, the man who has everything. They did a Justice League Unlimited episode of this story as well that does not include Robin. It's just Batman and Wonder Woman with Superman. And that's wonderful as well. Both are great. They did a very honorable adaptation. When they get into the Fortress of Solitude, they find Superman covered in this purple plant with a flower on it, and it's wrapped around him, and he is unconscious. And there is a character there named Mongol who has done this, and I believe the plant in question is called the Black Mercy. Okay. Now, what the Black Mercy does is it attaches to its victim, and it gives them everything that they really want. And when it attached to Superman, even though this is the man who has everything, right? What he wanted was just a normal life on Krypton, married, useful to the world, with a family. And Superman is unconscious, living his dream. He's living a dream. And it's wonderful, this dream. At a certain point in time, while Wonder Woman is fighting Mongol, and Batman or Batman and Robin, depending on which one you're reading, are trying to get the Black Mercy off of Superman. There's a whole thing going on in his planet. Basically all of a sudden things start to get not good in his universe because of what Batman and Robin are doing on the outside. And in the end, finally, it like dawns on Superman what's happening here. That he's in a false world. And he's looking at a child who he loves very much, but he's not real. He's just an idea that this plant has put in his head, and he has to leave this world filled with things he loves, exactly what he wanted to have. And when he breaks sort of the consciousness within the mind, I forget how he transitions, but the Black Mercy comes off of him, and it gets Batman. And now Batman's got the Black Mercy, and he's fighting with it. And of course, he's living a regular life too, with his mom and his dad. They're okay. He's given everything that he wants. And he has to reject that world to go back to the real world where it's not so good. Now, here in our reality, generally speaking, most of us are dealing with a lot of it's not so good. However, it's this reality where all of our desire is based. What would be good? It would be like this, but better and easier. And, easier for us to see the people we love and enjoy our time, and easier for us to explore the things that we're passionate about. And, just everything would be easier, not completely different. And I'm telling you that because once or twice, and once I remember vividly, whilst working with plant medicine, I don't remember if it was during an ayahuasca trip or if it was working with psilocybin. I think it might have been working with psilocybin. But, well, I'll say this. I've had plenty of experiences of the universe and my perception, really, of the universe and different things changing, disappearing, recognizing that on some level I was projecting the universe out from inside of me, as are all people. All of us are living in a collective consciousness where we're all sort of projecting ourselves into reality, into this joined reality, and all the inanimate things are projecting their reality. And, memory is actually a collection of all of the things that have recorded every situation that ever went down. My clothes and the stuff in my office are recording reality along with me. The memory that's recorded in your mind is emotional memory, how you felt about things. So I have had different experiences where, the universe was being stripped away, or my understanding on one level or another. However, I've had a different experience that's similar on some level, but was really chilling at the time. And it was just basically that my consciousness was trapped in a false place. And that I would or could wake up on the other side very much like the Matrix. Not so much like the Matrix where, I'm in this machine, but more like I wake up and I'm where I really am, and I'm with the people that I'm really with, and this was all a trick. And that really freaked me out. Of course, because my reference to reality is this place. All my wants and dreams and desires happen here. I want to see this place improve. I want to see us all get what we want. I want to see progress made here. See, the idea that, ultimately I needed to, wake up and get myself out of here scared the fuck out of me. Granted, I will say this, just as we prepare to have this conversation, that you're going to have all the time that you need here on Earth with all the ones you love to do all the things you'd like to do, even though this is a fucking mirage. It's our mirage, and we're gonna do it. We're gonna whatever it is that needs to be satisfied in the consciousness, we are going to satisfy it. I believe that. So don't fear, because I'm about to tell you that the ultimate end to this is leaving this place, this false construction. Jesse, how did you get to such a place? How does one little psychic experience? And it was more than just that one. But because of that one that was the first one that really spooked me, when this sensation and feeling came on at other times, I would always play it down to sort of link it to some of the earlier things that I said. No, I'm just having like a, it's not a suspicion that I'm in a false world. It's just that, yeah, we're creating this and all these other things. Yes, that's true. But there's more. And listen, I'm here with you as a human being. A lot of this is intuition. But there's a shitload of things that like connects all these things together. Like I was kind of going through this with because I had enough to just like talk to you about it all by myself. But before I went down, I just wanted to make like some bullet points with the AI of just like some of the basic Gnostic beliefs, just for keywords and stuff in case I forget anybody's name or anything. And as I was doing that, I just kept having a lot of intuitive thoughts and connections and realizations, things that I've been thinking about. And I kept going, has anybody anywhere connected this to this or this to this or this to this? And then it would come back and give me pieces of everything that I'm saying, but not necessarily all connected the way I'm connecting it here. So perhaps I am really offering something to this conversation as we get into it. The ultimate idea of what the Gnostics believed, and I have believed this very much, I've been in agreement with the Gnostics. I just hadn't gone back to look deeper at some of the things that maybe just seemed crazier to me at the time, pieces of this information. But they believed that the God of the Old Testament was a false God. I believe that as well. I believe that the God spoken about by Christ and the God spoken about by, various people in the Old Testament are not the same being. I suspect that the being in the Bible that calls himself God is either Anu, the leader of the Sumerians, who I think may also be the leader of the Archons, or Enlil, who is the son to Anu. But I'm not even sure Enlil exists. I think that the Enlil and Enki drama may be polarity drama that they've created to keep us in polarity. So I think it may actually be a father-son dynamic, and father-son dynamic is different. If the father behaves this way and then the son behaves another way, like case in point, the whole thing with and this is why there are some Satan worshippers who are like, no, Lucifer was a good guy. He was the light bringer. And there's absolute truth to this in the Old Testament. The reason why Lucifer was in trouble was because he was educating the people. So if this wasn't brother versus brother and instead was father versus son, that's a very different dynamic. So I think that might be what was going on here. And these Anu and whatever else, like the fact that we found all those tablets for ancient Sumeria, there's all of them, we still haven't fucking translated them all. There's so many, they're all pristine, and they're like, somebody would say, oh, well, it's just the material that they use. Yeah, I understand. But they understood back then this material was going to last all the way there. So on multiple levels, it's like they knew this information was going to get to us. Would they write the history the way they wanted to inform us the way they wanted to? Yeah, I think so. So what is it that the Gnostics believed? And first, let me just say here, I've been operating under a understanding that this place was different than, that there's a real realm, a real heavenly realm, and that there was this matrix that we were in that was this crushing thing. And that I hated it. I hated this matrix. And I was viewing it as like a AI matrix that was creating our universe. Maybe that's true. I'm not sure about this, of all these things. I'm not sure if this realm that we're in is in the matrix, but it's like a broken part of the matrix, or if what I think of as the matrix is just a broken part of the thing that is real. That might be the thing. I'm not sure. I'm still trying to understand some of these concepts myself. And in a lot of cases, when I'm saying I'm not sure, I'm thinking I'm not sure, it's because there's additional aspects to it that I don't understand yet. So I'm hesitating to form any sort of opinion, though it looks a little like this. It seems a little like this. Okay? So these things said, the Gnostics believe in an unknowable divine realm called the Pleroma, which means fullness. This realm contains divine emanations or aspects of God known as Aeons. Now, this is similar to what I understand as I understand it, I may be one of these ancient divine emanations of reality. One of the reasons why I was chosen to come bring that energy into this this place. Now, again, for me, as I've been understanding these things, I had thought of that as separate from this matrix thing. But I think maybe I'm learning through this that this matrix thing is not a matrix computer. It was an accident that occurred when something fell out of sync with the Pleroma, this fullness that I've been informed I come from at various times in my existence. I'm only sharing this information even just because I'm trying to process what it all means as I talk to you. But this isn't something that I think of as an egotistical whatever. Like we're all at different points in our development. We're all enjoying things at our own rate, but we're all equal. And like I don't think of anything like that. And honestly, all the things that I've had to go through with this, it's been horrible. Like there's nothing good. I'm sure it's going to seem good or seems good on some level. Some of the things, on whatever level the idea, it sucks. Being pure actually means being capable of great impurity, because we come down to earth and we get so out of whack. And having to get our emotions together, and really it's about that. It's about like the emotions, like a fucking bipolar crazy person having to pull yourself together here on earth. It's no fun. It's no fun at all. And just like the higher up that chain of energy you are, the worse that experience is. And, whatever your experience can look like from the outside, the inner world experience is the one that's rough. And, just, oh God, I'm sorry. I've had a moment of like, just like I've had, when I tried to talk to people about some of these things in the past, sometimes the reaction will be a little weird. And I don't want it to be any sort of like, oh, Jesse's a big, like, whatever. We're all a big deal. We all got to get our shit together. It's important that we all get our shit together. It's like, if you can help me, great. If I can help you, great. Doesn't matter. We all got to be happy and respect each other. But this Pleroma realm or this concept of this Pleroma, I recognize very much. I wonder if there's a Pleroma for the Matrix and then there's another Pleroma, or if this is that place that I come from, that place where this Matrix has fallen out of. So what's the next bit of cosmology for the Gnostics? Well, one of these aeons, divine emanations of the real God, is Sophia. Sophia is associated with wisdom. One day, Sophia attempts to create or emanate something independently of the divine order. Apparently, Sophia has a partner, and like all of the beings in these realms have a partner. That's interesting too, because I was told at some point that I too had a partner, a divine partner, who I was kind of, funnily enough, the person who kind of betrayed me is in theory was suggested to maybe be that person, which I'm questioning now. But it could be the case as well. I mean, we're all on different levels of our fucking journey, and some people are just, still a little lost and whatever. But I had been told that there were divine partners, anchoring people from the Pleroma. There's a divine masculine and a divine feminine energies keeping themselves together. So here, and this I am going to embellish. I'm embellishing a little bit based on my intuition. And actually, I'll say one more time, right? Not one more time, one more thing. I've become, as I know a lot of people are waking up to, really savvy to the fact that all entertainment, books, everything that we're watching is it's pulled from the divine mind. And oftentimes, the military is involved in, military films and things like that. There are bits of disclosure that get put out in entertainment, a lot of it unknowingly. They don't realize that they're disclosing a ton of different things about the jinn hunting people with weapons in the wilderness, whatever. Or maybe they do, like in The Predator or something like that. But like that, all of these things are based on real things going on in our reality. Like recently on Coolest Alive, I did Humans Hunting Humans Week, because there was stuff with Jay-Z and Epstein and Beyonce going around of them possibly hunting human beings. And, it's like, here it is, this thing that we're talking about as entertainment, and yet it's not entertainment, it's real. It's based on something real. And then even within really ridiculous higher concepts, things like the Celestials and Marvel, and concepts like eternity and things like this, which are all interesting plays on things within Indian cosmology and other places. Like, you can find things that are very similar. And there is a concept that I had thought about recently, was, kind of been put in front of me, the null concept, who shows up in Marvel as the thing that ultimately gave Venom, creates the black ooze that becomes Venom's costume and whatnot. And they have this whole mythology with Null, like falling through the cracks of the universe and like being the original darkness and all this stuff. It's very interesting. And I found it interesting that, like, it's a certain type of story. There's other characters who have had similar sort of things happen. And I kept wondering, like, I wonder if somehow that's going to show up somewhere in, like, these cosmologies and whatever as I learn more. And sure enough, I've got this agnostic cosmology that I'm looking at again, and it's talking to me. Sophia attempts to create or emanate something independently of her divine masculine counterpart. This act results in her falling into another realm, falling out of balance with the realm she's in, falling into another realm and creating what is called the demiurge, an ignorant higher divine realm. I should say an ignorant being. A being ignorant of the divine realm and believing itself to be the supreme God. In my estimation, she created a negative masculine force. She had a positive masculine force. She went to create independently, threw herself out of balance, trying to connect with God in some deeper way, which I don't recommend. Connect with God just in stillness, not in, don't try to understand him. I didn't try to understand him either, but still, they showed me, and you don't want to understand him better. He's containing everything. We're experiencing things only because it's being contained in the God. It's crazy. Things we'll talk about another day. So she creates null. She throws herself out of balance, pulls herself into a lower dimensional realm where she's vibrating out of sync, and she creates this demiurge being. So the Gnostics believe the demiurge created the physical universe and the material world. It's often described in Gnostic texts as imperfect, corrupt, or illusory. It's all three. Compared to the divine realm, it's bullshit. It's total bullshit. We basically have an asshole, selfish ruler outside of this universe playing God, making us think we're beneath it, when really we all come from or are inherited to, have claim to the divine realm, where we're in sync and in balance with all things. And, life is good. You can still grow. You grow through pressure and time. It doesn't have to be pain and time. It doesn't have to be suffering and time. Pressure. This is pressure. Well, I'm going to adjust like this. There you go. Pressure and time. That's it. That's all you need. That's why the divine realm works perfectly fine. Everything's in harmony. Everything's in relative sort of telepathic communication with itself and God, and everything is doing what makes most sense to it to be doing. I mean, I can't even begin to fucking tell you what it is like or what it's about, because I don't remember on any level, other than I know that this shit is all fucking fugazi. And I know that so much of our reality is this really strange paradigm where we're spending so much time measuring time and distance. Meet me here at this time. Where are you right now? I'm here. I'm there. I'm going to go there. We'll go there at this time. We'll go there at this. How close are you to me? 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes. How big was it? It's this big. How big is it in comparison to this thing? We're just looking around the world, comparing sizes and meeting at times and meeting at places and distances. And then we're talking about it. Let me tell you the story of the time I went to the thing and met the thing at the time and the place and the distance. And we're writing articles about it, and we're having conversations about it, and we're making jokes about it. And, everything is just like a commentary on the thing that we're doing and us trying to figure out what this thing is. And ultimately, we don't know what this thing is because we come in here in this realm blind. And deeper than than everything. I've been told, this is just the way of how we do it, and you come on some level, but we go back and there's reincarnation, stuff like that. Well, according to the Gnostics, that's all bullshit. That's Archons, the demiurge, deceiving us and keeping us trapped here. He's like, oh no, you fucked up like this, you got to go back. Oh, no. And that doesn't mean that we shouldn't, because we're not going to be able to get into higher realms if we are not on a we are one mindset. We all have to get into a we are one mindset, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, in order to be able to go into the divine realms. Once you do that, though, you can go into divine realms. There are things that you got to learn and things to balance yourself or whatever else, but divine realm, you know love, you're one with all the things, and, we'll get you guys fucking piffed up. But when you don't know that you're all one and you're living in selfishness and all this stuff, you're not, they're not going to be banging on your door to get you in there. But largely, we've been just trying to, the people who have come here to help have just been trying to get everybody up to that love vibration. Hey, we're all one. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and we can make the world a better place. But all of this like little karmic bullshit and whatnot that they have you going through on the other side of things and sending you back, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. The whole situation is total bull hockey. And it's funny because, like, on some level, I just always known, like, I'm not going to answer to anybody. I don't feel like I have to answer to anybody. I feel like God is my witness, God is my judge, and, God knows what I'm doing, God knows who I am, and it'll be okay. And, I have a real problem with hierarchy and authority. Just like the audacity of anybody to think that they have any power over you or over me. I really just believe in total personal freedom. And, and I believe that that's the truth. This other place that we've been put into of these limited existences and this responsibility and all of this financial burden and all of this survive, kill or be killed scenario. It's false. This is a false reality. Do some of these things exist within the balanced reality? I think probably. I think animals going back and forth and eating each other and whatnot, I think that is a form of love. In part of the creation, when the creation knows what's going on and this thing comes out and blah, 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 and everything's timed and whatnot, I think, that might be a part of the balanced creation. But then it's supposed to keep evolving beyond that. And that's what we have not done. So we're just stuck in this part where it's the kill or be killed. And that's just a moment that we're supposed to move through relatively effortlessly as something that is attached to the Most High. Now, the demiurge at least was in the beginning, can't imagine he still is now, ignorant of the higher divine realms and the Most High, and it believes itself to be the supreme God. Now, the creation of the material world is being ruled over, is being created by the demiurge, and he's ruling over it, and the material cosmos, the larger universe and other planets that we think of and know of. It's all a fucking playpen. Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, that was their enclosure in the zoo that they eventually grew out of. The Archons are created by and subordinate entities that assist the demiurge. The Archons are described as cosmic administrators or rulers of the material realms and planetary spheres. Some Gnostic texts associate Archons with the 7 classical planets known in ancient astronomy. And that is, I believe, if going on this, they're all part of creation. I've been told that part of me changing some ideas and changing some minds and being a thought leader on some level was actually going to lead to me being physically a part of this reality on some level, like me embodying it, because the ideas came from me and I would that would anchor me to being a part of it in physicality in some strange way. Very odd. But interesting to know, to think, to see it being talked about that these Archons are basically taking the form of the world. They are our cage, and we are living inside it. They are maintaining control over human existence and the physical universe. Because they are the physical universe. But now, humanity has a divine spark, and we were given this divine spark ultimately through Sophia. Basically, from the Pleroma, where she comes from, it's become trapped in these material bodies, but basically when the Demiurge Archons were trying to create human beings, apparently they couldn't make it happen. And Sophia came and she put this divine spark into human souls, and basically opened up a door for higher beings to start coming down into embodiment here to help teach some of the people who were having a really hard time going through a lot of suffering, how to keep their eye on the prize and stay light and harmonic and balanced. But because of this divine element inside us all, we have the potential to transcend the material world. And many of us have already, even though we haven't and won't yet, because we don't want to leave. We have so many people here that we love, and there's so many things that we'd still like to do. So even some people who have woken up to this, it's all a false thing. Well, we're like, but I got things to do here. And that's great. We will do things here, and it'll be nice. But it'll be even better in the future. So the Gnostics talk a lot about Gnosis, which is saving knowledge. They believe that liberation occurs through Gnosis, meaning a direct spiritual knowledge or awakening, as many of you guys have already been going through. Gnosis usually involves realizing the divine origin of your soul, the illusory or inferior nature of the material cosmos we're living in. Even if you just think about it as like we've gone out of whack in terms of what we're thinking about, and maybe the Earth is perfectly fine and harmonic and from the Pleroma, but what we're doing on it and all the commerce and all the things, we've gone into another realm, another dimension of stupidity. You could even simplify it down to that. I think it's much deeper than that, actually, though. Or when you realize the existence of higher divine realm beyond the Archons. And, that was something for me that I realized a while ago. That's where we're from, guys, ultimately. All of our energy is sort of being like picked up from nothing. And like we're being forced alive here in a shittier reality and being forced through experiences that are not glorious. So the way the Gnostics thinks of Jesus Christ is also unique, and I think more on the money, giving him the role of a revealer. Many Gnostic traditions describe a divine messenger or revealer who brings gnosis to humanity, and in some early Christian Gnostic texts, this role is associated with Christ, portrayed as revealing hidden knowledge rather than primarily emphasizing salvation through sacrifice. But ultimately, this all becomes about escaping the fucking Archons. And they had a very complex system that I don't think is necessary. I think just knowing this and calling bullshit on the other side and any other things that come up and go, send me to the Pleroma. I know that there's a real God, a real thing on the other side. Get out of my way. I think if you just know that you have to get through, that should be more than enough. But they will say, after death, the soul may need to pass through the planetary spheres ruled by the Archons. And I mean, I'm saying that same thing as well. But I'm just saying that the way they do it, they say possessing gnosis, and that is just knowing will allow the soul to bypass or overcome these rulers, which is what I'm saying. But also they have some more like tricky, like you're supposed to say these things to them, or when you say this person, you tell them this and whatever. I'm like, I don't know if it needs to be that crazy. I think you just have to know, no, this is bullshit. Get out of my way. And that liberated souls ultimately return to the Pleroma. And I wonder if there are any stories about that. That's one that I want to listen to. Stories about people bypassing the illusion and knowing that it's an illusion and getting through the walls. I bet there have been stories over the years told of that, and I bet there are souls who have liberated themselves, just demanding passage. I believe it. There are, of course, variations among different Gnostic schools, different groups that interpret different ideas. There's Valentinianism that you can read about, and Sethianism and Manichaeism. But the core agnostic beliefs tend to be the same. But Okay, so there's a whole bunch of weird things that are like worth bringing up, and I kind of tied them to like the Matrix, like the movie. Just thinking of like getting out of the Matrix. And one of these ideas is that the universe was essentially created by mistake. This universe, or the bowl for it, was essentially created by Sophia, and she created this fucked up demiurge who's this ignorant, flawed creator who then, built this matrix in the sandbox that he created. In the Matrix, reality itself is viewed as a faulty or artificial system, rather than the ultimate reality. To the creator God isn't the highest God. That is the thing, like the demiurge and the God of the Bible. That's not the God, like I was always like that's God. God was like, blah, 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 worship me. That hardly seems like God to me. And it isn't. Just like the real administrator in the Matrix, he isn't the real authority behind existence either. He's not God. The false God at the gates of the Matrix. 3, I got cosmic jail wardens, the Archons. The Archons in larger context, they're feeding on us. They're feeding on all of the shitty energy and all the badness that's going on. The Demiurge employs rulers, the Archons that are controlling the universe, and they're governing planetary spheres, influencing human behavior. These Archons could be compared in like the Matrix analogy again to the system administrators or their control programs, which makes reality just a trap for consciousness. Humans contain a divine spark from the higher realm trapped inside physical bodies, and the material world exists partly to keep souls ignorant to their true origin. And, I think all these fucking Matrix parallels are pretty obvious. And even the planets as control systems. I mean, think about and control stations and energy control. Like the planets, what's your astrology? That's the way the planets are ruling you. The planets are moving around and they're affecting you. And they're affecting you in all these negative ways that make you go up and down. Oh, it makes you jealous. It makes you this. It makes you want to be the center of attention. It's the planet that does that. And the planet. If you've looked into astrology for a minute, it's like, yeah, the planets are controlling you. Well, isn't that interesting? Control systems on multiple levels. The Archons, the Gnostics would describe these as these layers, these planetary layers, as barriers the soul must pass through after death. Again, you're going through your archonic planetary growth. You got to grow as a soul like this and grow like a soul like this. So these are all these barriers that you have to pass through in death, and these are the ones that the Gnostics are saying you can bypass. And of course, they give hidden passwords to escape reality. That basically souls need to describe secret names, signs, or knowledge that they have to pass the Archons after death. And these appear in writings like the, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but the Pistis Sophia, Pistis, Pis Sophia. So, if you're interested in what those codes are, like I said, I think a basic understanding is enough. And ultimately here, the world is run by ignorance. The Archons are maintaining power by keeping humans in spiritual ignorance and in infighting and ego and gluttony and just in all of the imbalanced states, and salvation coming from gnosis, understanding that you're being put into an imbalanced state, direct awareness of reality's true structure, it meaning to feed on you, like that's the ultimate red pill. The system isn't here for you. The system is feeding upon you in one way or another, whether it's financially or otherwise, or your labor. Like there's a lot of dimensions to which you can look at this and go, well, that's true. On the baseline level, that's true. Next level, you could argue it's true. Next level, you could argue it's true. Next level, I don't know. I don't understand. I can't quite confirm this shit myself, but that runs in line with all the other levels, right? Humanity is being sabotaged. Some early Gnostic stories say that early humans were created with divine intelligence, but the Archons were terrified of the divine intelligence, and they tried to limit their awareness immediately. They split us into men and women to limit our ability to basically regulate our divine, balanced energy. And it was in the Gnostic scriptures. They claim that God, or basically divine emanations from the Pleroma, inspired the demiurge to create the human being in the form that they did, and all the different archons that they all participated and gave a different piece to create the body of the human being, but that they couldn't get it going, and they only got it going with Sophia, putting the divine spark into humanity. But then it came to life brilliant. And they were like, nope, this is fucked up, which is a fucking metaphor for Adam. For Adam Warlock. Which is a Gnostic fucking, allegory right there. He's the perfect being, and his creators are scared of him, and they want to put the genie back in the box, and they switch him into, like I said, girl and boy, and start doing a lot of other things to make it more difficult for them. Eventually, later on, they say so much of the stuff of like difficulty in childbirth and other difficulties that we deal with were all things that were put into place to make our life more difficult here on Earth. Things that were purposely done. The direct sabotaging of human beings. The messenger from outside of the system, Jesus Christ, as a revealer of hidden cosmic knowledge, not primarily a redeemer through sacrifice. That wasn't really what he was here to do. His mission was to remind humanity of their divine origin. The kingdom of heaven is within you. He came here to vibrate from the outside of this prison, to bring the vibration of the divine emanation, the balanced masculine, the balanced feminine. And I'm sure there's a lot more things going on within the context of what he was doing, and everybody can believe whatever they want about that. But this is some additional context here. At the end of the day, it all comes down to escaping the system. That's the goal. When someone achieves gnosis, their soul can bypass the archons and return to the divine realm, the Pleroma. Many people don't, or rather we come back because we want to get our loved ones out of here. But the material universe is ultimately being abandoned rather than perfected. We're gonna get it somewhere. We're gonna make it something wonderful, but then ultimately we're gonna move somewhere else, to somewhere that makes more sense and is better and is based more on reality, the way it should be. Couple other things just like for fun to wrap us up. I'm like approaching an hour here, but I'm enjoying this conversation. I'm just going to kind of go quick through some of these things that I've got pulled up here. Yaldabaoth is the name of, I think, also Anu, who is the lion-headed creator, the demiurge. Apparently he has a lion's head and a serpent's body. And this is the being that was born from the actions of Sophia, who believes he's the only God and proclaims, I am God and there is no other. He says very similar things in the Old Testament. This being, while ignorant of the higher divine realms, creates the material universe. The Archons, the alien cosmic bureaucrats, they serve the demiurge and administer this universe, the material universe that we think of as everything. They are often depicted as strange hybrid creatures, animal-headed, reptilian, or shadow-like. They govern the planetary spheres surrounding Earth, and I think the planetary energies that we deal with. Some texts claim they manipulate human perception and behavior. Modern conspiracy interpretations compare them to interdimensional parasites or control systems. We've talked about the Archons before. If you didn't listen to the Archon episode of the show, you should definitely go back and listen to that. The Archons are the biggest problem here on planet Earth because they're always whispering shittiness in our ears. I didn't realize how much control of everything that they had until I considered the Gnostic situation, and the Gnostic situation really makes it make sense. Because how would they be given so much control? Why would God allow this thing? Oh no, they created a little prison and we're in it. And these voices from the outside are trying to get us out of this place. So also talked about, in the Gnostic text are the 7 planetary rulers. Specifically the 7 primary archons tied to the classical planets. Each one governs a cosmic layer of the soul must pass after death, as we said earlier, and they enforce the demiurge's rule over the physical world. They're sometimes described as grotesque animal forms or monstrous faces, often interpreted as cosmic gatekeepers. Then there are the locust-faced archons. Some Gnostic descriptions of archons resemble the bizarre creatures found in the Book of Revelation. Hybrid features sometimes include human faces, animal bodies, wings, reptilian traits. These beings are portrayed as rulers of cosmic realms between Earth and the divine world. I think that the creepy angels that you see described in the Old Testament, I think those are the archons. Very creepy, very weird things. But then, of course, you've got the invisible spirit and the aeons at the top of the existence, and the true divine of our existence is the true divine source, sometimes called the invisible spirit. From it emanates divine beings called aeons, who inhabit the perfect realm known as the Pleroma. That is very much what I understand as well, just without necessarily those names. These beings are pure consciousness rather than physical forms. The material universe is viewed as a distant, flawed echo of this higher reality. Now, I want to just, as I say, closing. I'm not going to finish relatively quickly, but I want to close on this. I was asking for connections to the Tower of Babel. The Tower of Babel is very interesting because the Tower of Babel, it's talked about this building that was supposed to go to the sky, but I think that's coded language. I don't think that actually was what it was. What I had come to understand it was most likely was a stargate of some kind that brought human beings of other races here to the Earth from other planets or realms. You might notice here on planet Earth, there are white people and there are Asian people. Even though they're both white, they are pretty distinct from one another. And there are black people and there are brown people. And some of these brown people, like the Native Americans and the Indians or Egyptians, are relatively distinct from one another as well. So what we have here is a lot of different species of human. And I think what they decided was that on these other planets, everybody was speaking different languages. So they would bring them all here as the only people who could interpret on their behalfs, and they'd cause chaos between them because they didn't know any better. And so I asked about the Tower of Babel and also about different resets, and if there's ever been anybody, anywhere speculating in conspiracy communities or whatever, connecting this to the many resets like Atlantis or Lemuria or Tartaria, etc. And it came back with a resounding yes. Granted, again, as I said earlier, some of these things I'm putting together, and they haven't been put together directly, but here's just a bunch of these things being said by other people and connections being made as we have this conversation. Babel as a cosmic technology event. In the Genesis narrative, humanity builds a structure and intends to reach heaven, the Tower of Babel. Modern speculation and interpretation claim Tower was not merely symbolic architecture, but a form of advanced technology, a stargate, interdimensional portal, communication tower with extraterrestrial realms. Multiple languages as a control mechanism. The biblical story explains the origin of different human languages as divine intervention to stop the Tower Project. Some modern theorists, like myself, reinterpret this as a deliberate fragmentation of human civilization intended to prevent global unity. In certain narratives, this fragmentation is attributed to archons or controlling entities from Gnostic mythology. Extraterrestrials seeding theories. Fringe interpretations claim different human groups may have originated from multiple extraterrestrial or planetary sources. In that framework, the languages of Babel reflect different off-world origins. Earth becomes a mixed population of many lineages. These ideas appear in some modern ancient astronaut speculations, though they are not part of traditional Gnostic doctrine. But all these things tie together. Archons as cosmic manipulators. Some writers combine the Babel story with Archons from Gnosticism. In those interpretations, Archons supposedly divide humanity culturally and linguistically. Division keeps humans in conflict and easier to control. And then, additionally, connections to civilization reset theories. Atlantis, legendary civilization Atlantis, is often described in modern theories as a technologically advanced ancient society destroyed by catastrophe or punishment. Some speculation links its falls to interference from higher cosmic powers or archons. So are we growing to certain heights and then being crushed under the heels of these beings that don't want us to leave our prison to figure out what's really going on here? I think so. Lemuria/Mu. Lemuria appears 19th to 20th century occult traditions. In some speculative cosmologies, Lemuria is portrayed as earliest humans or semi-human civilizations. Their destruction is interpreted as part of the periodic planetary resets. Tartary is supposedly erased advanced civilization. It was. There's so much proof of Tartary. Down to the Tartary sauce. Internet theories claim a global empire with advanced technology once existed. They did. Its history was intentionally removed from records. It has been, clearly. Reset cycles. Some modern narratives combine these ideas into a single framework. Humanity periodically builds advanced civilizations. The catastrophe or intervention destroys or resets the system. Knowledge is lost and civilization restarts at a lower level. Causes proposed in these theories include natural disasters, divine intervention, extraterrestrial or archonic control systems. So now, I'm just going to skip around this part. I just had it pull up to me all the sort of speculated resets, major reset events and theories. 12,800 years ago, you got the Younger Dryas catastrophe. Suggest a comet or meteorite fragments struck Earth associated with abrupt global cooling, megafauna extinctions, major ecological disruptions. Some research proposes it may have impacted advanced ice age cultures, sometimes linked in speculation to the loss of a prehistoric civilization. Prehistoric lost civilization theories. You got Atlantis, you got Lemuria, you got Mu. Then you got 3,000 to 2,000 Bronze Age collapse. Saw multiple major civilizations fall in a short period of time, affected cultures including Mycenaean Greece, the Hittite Empire, several Near Eastern kingdoms. Possible causes: climate change, invasion, famine, systemic collapse, considered by historians a real historical reset in the ancient world. But was it? I'll mention right here the plagues, the Dark Ages. Stories of death come from a man holding what looked like a scythe with smoke coming out of it. And he looked like death, a man in a black cloak at the edge of town, and smoke was blowing towards town, and then people were dropping dead of the plague. That sounds to me like somebody was poisoning them. Of course, you've got your biblical catastrophe traditions. The Great Flood. Genesis flood narrative describes worldwide catastrophe wiping out most of humanity. Flood myths appear in Mesopotamian stories like the Epic of Gilgamesh. There's flood myths all over the fucking world. The flood thing happened. Tower of Babel dispersion, as we talked about before, multiple fragmented people. 536 to 547, you got the worst year to be alive. The volcanic winter of 536 caused dramatic temperature drops, crop failures, widespread famine, likely triggered by major volcanic eruptions, followed by the plague of Justinian, which killed millions. Again, this sounds like a reset. Medieval, early modern global disruptions. The Black Death. The Black Death killed an estimated 30 to 60% of Europeans' population. I was just talking about the Black Death. Created major social economic upheaval across Eurasia. Little Ice Age caused agricultural disruption and migration. Speculative hidden civilization reset theories. Tartaria mud flood theory. Online discussions reinterpret Tartary as a lost global empire, sometimes called Tartaria. Claims include a technologically advanced civilization existed recently. Its architecture and history were erased. The idea it commonly paired with a mud flood catastrophe that buried cities. There's tons of fucking cities in America alone that are buried in mud or burnt down. There's so many fucking suspicious fires and this mud flood thing all around the same time. Cyclical catastrophe theories. Some speculative frameworks propose recurring planetary resets caused by asteroid or comet impacts, solar events, geomagnetic reversals, pole shifts, volcanic super eruptions. And examples often referenced include the Topa super eruption or periodic impact events. Pattern observers sometimes point to people exploring reset patterns often note large civilizations appearing suddenly in the archaeological records, recurring global catastrophes, myths describing previous worlds destroyed, repeated societal collapses after environmental shocks. We keep waking up. They keep putting us back to sleep. We keep waking up. They keep putting us back to sleep. All right, the last thing I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to read you exactly what I shared with the AI, and this is purely speculative, whatever. Not speculative. It's not speculative. It's based on some things that a friend of mine who clearly knows some things has told me. I don't really have any other information to back up some of it other than he has said this. And it was interesting to me, the Younger Dryas, that fucking comet coming along destroying the dinosaurs. And like that seemed random until you look at all the other things being destroyed. And then I came back to my friend who had told me that he was a part of this initial group, the bad guy group, and he's fixing it, doing better or whatever, fucking making up for it. And he, and that the Archons, or these early Sumerians, they had made the planet partially for its natural resources, gold and silver. And they put the dinosaurs there to protect it for some reason. And I don't understand at all. Maybe that is speculation on his part or something like that. But the dinosaurs were here when they came, and they wanted to get rid of them. So they launched a fucking asteroid or a weapon and destroyed the bulk of the dinosaur population. But that some of those dinosaurs had evolved to be advanced, similar to like how the caveman had been evolved to be advanced, and they claimed, a certain amount of like ownership over the planet. And then also their negativity in the war and the fighting or whatever, that's exactly what the Archons wanted. So I put together this whole sort of thing, and I said, has anyone anywhere speculated or claimed that the Archons built the Earth through some natural evolution and either purposefully or inadvertently created the planet to also feed on gold and silver and minerals in some way or another? Had the dinosaurs guarding it essentially, or maybe they just evolved that way, as they had to let all the elements form naturally over millions of years, came back and destroyed the dinosaurs to go collect it. The minerals. Surviving ape-like creatures plus their DNA creates first humans, but little did they know there are also lizard beings that have evolved naturally on the planet, and they think the planet is theirs. So lizards warring with everyone and maybe even fighting God because they know it's a false God, but ultimately doing exactly what the Archons want, creating misery. Anything like this anywhere. Now, what follows is nobody putting it together the way that I just did. But I think it may go together like that on some level, and the details of which I don't pretend to know. But I'll just read you the whole answer here. Short answer: yes. Pieces of that storyline exist in various modern fringe theories, but not as one single traditional doctrine. What you described is basically a mashup of several different speculative systems that developed in the late 20th century by combining ancient Gnostic ideas, ancient astronaut theories, and reptilian conspiracy lore. Below are the closest matches to the elements you described. 1. Archons farming humanity. In Gnosticism, beings called Archons control the material world. Some modern interpretations say they feed on human emotional energy, sometimes called loosh. This interpretation appears heavily in the works of Robert Monroe. He's worth reading. Key idea: humans are kept in the system that produces suffering or emotional energy. This is the closest match to the idea of entities feeding off life processes. 2. Mining Earth for gold. The idea that advanced beings came to Earth to mine gold appears in modern ancient astronaut theories. Most famous source, Zachariah Sitchin. His interpretation of Mesopotamian myths proposed extraterrestrial beings called the Anunnaki, and you know Zachariah Sitchin if you watch Ancient Aliens ever, came to Earth hundreds of thousands of years ago. They supposedly needed gold to repair their planet's atmosphere. Humans were created as genetically engineered workers to mine gold. This idea is not found in traditional archaeology or Sumerian scholarship, but it is widely repeated in speculative literature. 3. Genetic engineering of humans. Several modern theories combine extraterrestrial intervention, early humanoids, DNA modification. Typical claims alien beings modified early Homo sapiens or earlier humanids, creating modern humans as a labor force. This concept appears in ancient astronaut literature, some UFO belief systems. 4. Reptilian civilizations. The idea of reptilian beings influencing humanity comes mainly from the writings of David Icke. David Icke's worth looking into. In that framework, shape-shifting reptilian entities secretly control human institutions. They are sometimes linked to interdimensional Archon-like forces. Humans are manipulated to produce fear and conflict. This overlaps with Gnostic interpretations of Archons. 5. Dinosaurs guarding resources. This specific idea that came from my crazy friend, dinosaurs existed to protect planetary resources, is not a common element in mainstream ancient astronaut theories. However, some speculative discussions propose dinosaurs existed during a previous planetary era. Extraterrestrial intervention or catastrophe reset Earth's biosphere, which is what made me think of it. The extinction event itself is associated with the Cretaceous Paleogene extinction event, but linking dinosaurs to guarding resources appears mostly in modern speculative storytelling rather than established theory. So that suggests to me that maybe some people are suggesting as much as well. I didn't decide to investigate that any further. But 6, reptiles as a native Earth civilization, another concept sometimes proposed. Reptiles could have evolved intelligence independently of mammals. Look at what we're looking at with animals right now. Really, animals are actually way closer to human intelligence than we thought. Duh! The hypothetical species is called the Silurian hypothesis. Scientists proposed it only as a thought experiment about whether evidence of an ancient civilization could survive millions of years, but conspiracy culture sometimes expands this into a hidden reptilian species native to Earth. There are depictions of reptilian-like beings on the walls of caves. 7, the hybrid mythology that exists today. And tons of lore within Native American culture and cultures all around the world. 7, the hybrid mythology that exists today. Many internet cosmologies combine Gnostic Archons, Anunnaki gold mining, reptilian rulers, ancient civilization resets, simulation-like reality ideas. The result is a hybrid narrative roughly like this. 1, higher entities create or manipulate Earth. 2, humans are engineered for labor or energy production, and I think we're going with higher entities create Earth. Humans are engineered for labor or energy production, but we actually end up being higher beings than them. Other non-human species, often reptilians, compete for control and try to hold us all back. Civilization periodically resets in order to keep us under control. This combined mythology appears widely in modern online speculation, but does not originate from a single ancient source. Modern conspiracy cosmologies often combine Gnostic Archons controlling reality, the Anunnaki mining gold, reptilian civilizations influencing humanity, and periodic civilization resets into a single narrative about hidden forces shaping human history. So more than just me is trying to figure out all of this shit. There is one more thing here. What are we at, 117? Should I do a little bit more? Actually, no. I don't know if this necessarily needs to be. This is kind of more for myself. But this was cool. So there was this just interesting piece of information that the AI wanted to point to that I thought was cool, so I told it to tell me more about it, which is Saturn as a former sun in ancient mythology. There's a Saturn myth theory that proposed by researchers like David Talbot and Emanuel Velikovsky. In ancient human memory, Saturn appeared as a large central celestial object in the sky. Some mythologies describe it as stationary, radiant, and dominating the heavens, sometimes circular or ringed. Supporting myths across culture, Mesopotamian mythology, Saturn associated with Enlil. Remember, that's the son of Anu, who I think is maybe the demiurge, or maybe Enlil didn't even exist. A supreme god figure in Sumerian and Babylonian texts. The planet sometimes symbolized order and authority in the sky. Egyptian mythology, Saturn associated with Osiris and sometimes depicted as a fixed sun-like star in ancient cosmograms. Hindu mythology, Shani, Saturn, is a cosmic teacher and judge, sometimes described as controlling cycles of time. Chinese and indigenous sky myths, myths of giant stationary celestial objects or multiple suns may be interpreted as distorted memories of a Saturn-like presence. 3. Physical appearance and ancient memory. Talbot's research interprets artistic depictions like Egyptian hieroglyphs or Babylonian star charts as showing Saturn surrounded by rings or circular orbits as a dominant central object with the sun and other planets revolving around it, like right over Polaris. Some researchers suggest humans remembered a radically different solar system configuration in myth. For symbolic esoteric interpretation, Saturn as the old sun or stationary sun has been linked to esoteric concepts like the black sun, Schwarzsonne, Gnostic ideas of a false or archonic light, and the sun, like the sun, and that's the sun, and like how are these just the same word being used to describe this thing? Metaphors for an old cosmic order being replaced by a new energy or sun. 5. Connections to catastrophic events, civilization resets. Veliskowski and Talbot note that ancient myths often describe cataclysmic cosmic events, massive floods, fire, sky, suns falling from heaven. Some link these events to a shift from the Saturn system to our current solar system, possibly remembered in allegory as the old sun hiding, new sun arriving. There's also talk about a sun in the inner earth. But then I've also heard the sun being brought in as a protector, and that the sun is actually divine light from the Pleroma that has been brought in to help us all align. So is the black sun hiding, and did the Saturn sun move? What is this? What does that mean? Was the sun like a planet more? Are these planetary bodies emanating energy? Is that what they're about? Is it all about energy emanation? These are all questions that I'm trying to figure out myself. Feel free to write me at jbs@blacklightdistrict.studio if you have thoughts on any of this stuff and want to get into a really neat conversation with me. 6. Modern speculative extensions, and we're getting towards the end here. Esoteric and New Age writers combine these ideas with black sun theories, hidden spiritual or interdimensional light, Archons or planetary controllers, human awakening, Pleroma energy narratives. Resulting narrative often looks like 1. Saturn once dominated the sky as the primary celestial light. Whoa. 2. A new cosmic energy, the current sun or spiritual energy entering the world, appeared. 3. Saturn retreated into memory, myth, or outer solar system. 4. Humanity's memory preserved this event in myths and iconography. It's interesting. And of course, there's always talk as well about Nibiru. Could there have been planet Nibiru here? Lots of interesting things. Are there more planets than the planets they say? But anyway, I mean, just to wrap that up, across cultures, Saturn was sometimes remembered as a stationary sun-like object dominating the sky. Some modern theories suggest this old sun corresponds to the black sun or conic systems, later replaced by our current sun, linking ancient myth, esoteric symbolism, and speculation about cosmic resets. The moon, the best evidence, it seems like it towed itself in here. It came in and parked. It didn't hit the planet the way they said that it did. It cruised itself in here. Very strange. What is really going on? What do you think's really going on? For me, getting this information and looking freshly at the Gnostic texts, and I really recommend you dive deeply into all of that. I gave you a really nice basic overview of some of the most important pieces of information, but there's so much information actually that you can go dive into, and it is all rather compelling. For me, it was a bit like somebody walked over my grave. I went, I had that suspicion once. I thought that. I thought, this is all an illusion. And I can wake up and be outside it. I'm trapped here. And we are trapped here. That doesn't mean that we can't make it great, get everything that we want to get out of it, and then move back into reality the way we know it and we enjoy it. We can. Don't be afraid of new information. Don't be afraid of information like this. It's okay. Oh, bless me. This is the truth of our reality, and it's time to fucking exit, you know? Start preparing to get the fuck out of here once and for all. I'm Jesse Blaze Snyder, and you've been listening to Everything They Don't Want You to Know. I love you so much. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. And I hope you'll join me again anytime this week on Coolest Live or next Sunday for another fucking awesome episode of Everything They Don't Want You to Know. Peace out, guys.
Here is a conspiracy theorist. I look around and just can't understand. Here is something perfectly clear that is an answer you cannot defend. Yeah, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I couldn't be nearest to the truth. Hey, hey, we all are conspiracy theorists. Hey guys, how about you? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Here is a conspiracy theory. I take the red pill but can't comprehend. Here is something factually real and injustice that must be avenged. Yeah, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I couldn't be nearest to the truth. Hey, hey, we all are conspiracy theorists. Hey guys, how about you? Yeah, yeah, yeah. They created this term to shut us all up, 'cause when we all know, we'll all just stand up. Take back this world, pay for their sins, 'cause when we all love and when we all give, we all win.
Conspiracy theorists, we hope that you hear this. Conspiracy theorists, we hope that you hear this.
Ooh, follow the lies to the truth. Oh, follow the lies to the truth. Yeah, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I couldn't be nearest to the truth. Hey, hey, we all are conspiracy theorists. Hey guys, how about you?